Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise and give you the key insights on the information you really need. Today, we're taking a close look at something that affects millions of people around the world, atopic dermatitis. You probably know it better as eczema. It's a chronic inflammatory skin thing, causes that persistent itching, rashes, and it can really impact daily life for the people who suffer from it. So, our mission today, we've got this detailed market research report from Cognitive Market Research, and we're going to, unpack it. We want to cut through all the data, pull out the most crucial insights, maybe find some surprising facts, and help you understand what it all means for this condition and, importantly, its treatment landscape, which is changing pretty fast.
Exactly. And atopic dermatitis, it's more than just skin deep, isn't it? It's a major health challenge. It really impacts quality of life for so many individuals. And looking at the market side of things, it's a really interesting space right now. We're seeing this constant evolution in treatments, plus some really significant growth projected. It's a field just buzzing with innovation.
Okay, so let's get into that, Ben. Let's unpack this. From that market perspective, just how big is this world of atopic dermatitis treatment, and what's driving it all?
Well, the numbers, they really do paint a picture of immense opportunity, you could say. Yeah. The market size was estimated around 1.5 billion US dollars in 2024, approximately. But here's the really striking figure. It's projected to absolutely skyrocket to roughly $3.4 billion by the end of 2032.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of about 10.6% over that period. To give you some perspective, that means the market's set to more than double in just 8 years. There's a huge signal, right? It points to this massive unmet need and the potential for innovations that could really change lives.
That kind of growth, yeah, it's not just a number on a page. It must fundamentally change the whole game for drug development and patient access, doesn't it? And where exactly is all this demand coming from? Who's needing these treatments?
It really does change things. And the demand, it's not just concentrated in one spot. It's actually quite widespread throughout the healthcare system. We're seeing it from hospitals and clinics, naturally, but also from specialty dermatology clinics, and of course pharmacies, both your local retail ones and online pharmacies too. Now, the current sort of foundational treatments, they include things like topical corticosteroids, those are the anti-inflammatory creams lots of people are familiar with, and then there are calcineurin inhibitors, another kind of non-steroidal cream that helps, calm down the immune response in the skin. But what's really driving things forward and becoming more common are the advanced treatments, things like biologics. Dupilumab is a well-known example. These are complex medicines. They're made from living organisms designed to target very specific immune pathways. And we're also seeing newer non-steroidal topical medicines coming through. So those form the base, but this explosive growth, it really points to a huge surge in demand for even more sophisticated solutions.
Okay, let's dig into those core drivers then. What's truly behind this expansion? Thinking about it from, the patient side, but also the industry side. What's really pushing the market forward for you, the listener, and for the patients?
Yeah, good question. There are several key, let's call them engines of growth at play here. First, just the basic fact. Rising disease prevalence. More people are being affected by atopic dermatitis. It's not entirely clear if it's just better diagnosis or maybe environmental factors, lifestyle shifts, even that hygiene hypothesis idea might play a role. But the numbers are going up globally. And hand in hand with that, you've got increased awareness. Patients know more, but critically, so do healthcare providers. They're more aware of the sophisticated and advanced treatment options that are actually available now.
So people are seeking out better treatments more actively.
Exactly. And that ties into the next point, this growing desire for tailored therapy. We're seeing a big shift away from a kind of one-size-fits-all approach. It's moving towards more personalized, patient-specific treatments, finding the right drug for you based on maybe your specific disease profile or even genetics down the line. Then you've got the science side, innovations in biotechnology and also in new drug delivery systems, how medicines are made and how they actually get into your body effectively. That improves how well they work and makes them more convenient for patients too. And then there's the wider healthcare context. Things like government initiatives focusing on skin health, generally higher healthcare spending in many regions, and better access to dermatological care. Especially in emerging markets, that's making a difference. And finally, a really huge driver is just the pace of discovery. New pipeline medications are coming through development rapidly. There's rising demand for these new biologics we mentioned, and we're seeing more product approvals. Like Glenmark Pharmaceuticals recently partnered with Pfizer. They're going to commercialize abrocitinib in India. That's an oral systemic therapy, so a pill you take for moderate to severe AD. That kind of deal, that new approval, it really moves the needle because it gives patients a new, often easier way to manage their condition.
Okay, so that's the big picture, the story of, well, really explosive growth. But like any global issue, I imagine the situation looks quite different depending on where you are in the world. Let's talk about that global race. Who's leading the market in different regions, and maybe who's catching up the fastest?
Yeah, absolutely. The regional picture is key. So on the global stage, North America is the current leader. It accounted for about 35% of the total market back in 2023. So the biggest slice. And that's largely driven by, well, factors we've touched on. High prevalence of atopic dermatitis. Patients in the U.S. tend to be quite aware of treatment options. Plus, they have a pretty well-established healthcare infrastructure that's often quick to adopt innovative treatments.
Okay, so North America leads. Who's next?
Europe follows quite closely behind. They hold a substantial share, around 30%. Here, a big factor is also the increasing prevalence. It's often linked to environmental triggers and genetic factors in the European population. That's significantly boosting the demand for effective treatments there. But the region that's really one to watch is Asia Pacific. In 2023, it held about 25% of the market,
Right.
but it's growing incredibly fast. It's actually projected to increase its share to 30% by 2024.
Wow, catching up to Europe very quickly then.
Exactly. And this represents the highest compound annual growth rate among all regions. We're talking 12%.
That 12% in Asia Pacific, that's really remarkable. Is it just the large population, or are there specific, say, policy changes or other factors driving that incredibly fast growth beyond just evolving tech?
It's a great point. It's definitely a mix of things contributing to Asia Pacific's rapid rise. Yes, there's the presence of rapidly evolving healthcare technologies. There's also, of course, a very large patient population.
Oh,
But alongside that, you see rising healthcare spending, more people able to access or afford care. There's growing patient understanding and awareness, too. People are becoming more proactive about seeking healthcare for conditions like this. And importantly, you often find more favorable regulatory conditions in some of these countries for approving and commercializing new treatments. That can create a smoother path for getting innovative drugs to patients faster.
got it. So it's this dynamic global market with Asia Pacific really surging. Now, within this pretty intensely competitive arena, who are the companies leading the pack right now? Which players are dominating, and what kind of strategies are they using to stay on top?
Yeah, it is definitely an intensely competitive space. Looking at the figures from 2023, Pfizer Inc. held the dominant market share, approximately 22%. Following them were Novartis AG with around 18%, and then Leo Pharma AS at about 15%. So those are sort of the current heavyweights.
And their game plan, how do they maintain that edge?
Well, their strategies are pretty clear and quite common in pharma, really. These companies are consistently pouring money into research and development. R&D is key. They need to enhance their current products and innovate with new ones to keep that competitive advantage. We also see a lot of activity in mergers, acquisitions, and strategic partnerships. These aren't just random moves. They're very indicative of the competition. The goal is usually to broaden their product portfolios, get access to new technologies, or expand their global reach, especially into those fast-growing markets. And looking ahead, it's pretty much expected that we'll see new companies entering the fray and competition heating up even more by 2024. Particularly with a strong focus on those emerging markets in Asia Pacific we just talked about, everyone wants a piece of that rapidly expanding pie.
Okay, so we've covered the impressive growth, the key players, the regional shifts, but it can't all be smooth sailing, right? What's standing in the way? What are the biggest hurdles? Maybe for patients trying to get the care they need and for the market continuing this trajectory, are there any potential downsides to this rapid growth?
That's a really crucial point to bring up, because despite all the exciting progress, there are absolutely significant barriers. And these can hinder market growth, but more importantly, they impact patient outcomes. One of the probably the most pressing issues is the high cost of treatment. Especially the advanced medicines, those biologics and the newer JAK inhibitors, these are oral meds targeting specific immune pathways. They can be prohibitively expensive.
Right.
And this raises really serious concerns about affordability, about insurance coverage. Many patients end up facing huge out-of-pocket expenses, and that can limit their access to therapies that could be critical, particularly if they have persistent or severe atopic dermatitis. So yeah, it's not just a market issue, it's fundamentally an access problem for patients.
A huge barrier. What else?
Well, then you have regulatory restrictions. Sometimes the rules around prescribing these advanced medications can be quite strict, and that can impede access too. Healthcare professionals might have to navigate really complex approval processes, deal with prior authorization headaches with insurance companies. For example, you mentioned Dupixent earlier. The FDA approved it for younger kids with eosinophilic esophagitis after it was already approved for older patients. Now, that's great progress, but it highlights how detailed and often lengthy that regulatory journey can be, even for drugs that show significant promise and get priority reviews. It basically means that even breakthrough treatments can take years sometimes to actually reach all the patients who desperately need them. It creates a kind of bottleneck.
So these regulations, they're clearly a barrier in some ways. Is there much pushback or advocacy trying to streamline these processes, or are they generally seen as just, necessary for keeping patients safe?
It's definitely a constant push and pull situation. Regulators, understandably, prioritize patient safety above all else. That has to be paramount. But at the same time, the industry and patient advocacy groups are always pushing for ways to accelerate access, but without compromising that safety. So it's this ongoing dialogue, trying to find the right balance between those two, frankly, critical needs. And then there's another huge challenge: patient disengagement, or maybe more accurately, non-adherence to treatment.
People not sticking to their medication plans.
Exactly. And it's complex. Many patients struggle to stick to their prescribed regimens. It could be because the condition is chronic, it goes on for years. Sometimes the treatment plans themselves are complicated, maybe multiple creams, timings, things like that. And potential side effects can put people off too. Just think about it. If you have to apply a topical cream multiple times a day, every single day, maybe for years, and you don't see immediate dramatic relief, that's a huge psychological hurdle to overcome.
Yeah, I can imagine the motivation might wane.
Precisely. That recurrent need for daily application or maybe regular injections for biologics, it can easily lead to non-compliance, especially if relief isn't instant. Plus, sometimes there are gaps in education about why adherence is so important, leading to misunderstandings. And, circling back, those high out-of-pocket costs, they can definitely discourage consistent use or even lead people to stop treatment altogether.
So a tough set of challenges there: cost, regulation, adherence. What does this all mean then for the future? With these hurdles, how is the market innovating and adapting? How is it trying to keep up that growth trajectory? But more importantly, how is it looking to actually improve patients' lives going forward?
Well, despite those challenges, the future outlook for the atopic dermatitis treatment market is actually quite promising. There are several developments indicating not just continued growth, but also real improvements in patient care. A major area is definitely the advancement of more tailored biologics and also small molecule treatments. As more of these come online, new JK inhibitors, different types of monoclonal antibodies, the therapy choices just expand massively. This allows for much more individualized and hopefully more effective management, tailoring the treatment to a specific patient's profile, the severity of their disease. For instance, AbbVie recently got FDA approval for RNVOQ, that's upadacitinib. It's for severe atopic dermatitis in people 12 and up, specifically targeting those who maybe haven't responded well to other injections or pills. That's a huge step forward for those treatment-resistant patients.
So more targeted options. What else is on the horizon?
There's also a growing focus on early detection and intervention, which makes sense, right? Advances in genetics, in biomarker research, these could help doctors identify patients who are at higher risk of developing severe atopic dermatitis much earlier in life. That would allow for timely preventive actions, maybe shifting towards a more proactive management style rather than just reacting to flare-ups. And then there's innovation in how drugs are delivered. Drug delivery systems, things like nanotechnology, smart topical formulations. These are being explored to try and improve how well treatments work and make them more convenient. Imagine like a cream that gets the medicine deeper into the skin more effectively, or maybe a patch that releases medication steadily over time. That's the kind of goal making treatments more potent, maybe with fewer side effects and easier to stick with.
Interesting stuff.
And finally, there are two other really important aspects emerging. One is a stronger focus on patient-centered care initiatives. This means moving beyond just treating the rash or the itch. It's about addressing the patient's overall needs. That includes crucial psychological support, because living with a chronic visible condition takes a huge toll mentally. And it also includes focusing on lifestyle changes that can help manage the condition, really aiming to enhance their overall quality of life, not just control the symptoms. And the other aspect is digital health technologies. Mobile apps, telehealth platforms, these are likely going to play a much bigger role. They can provide continuous patient engagement, allow people to easily track their symptoms, stick to their treatment plans, maybe communicate with their doctors more readily in real time. These digital tools could significantly boost patient education and self-management skills, potentially leading to much better adherence and ultimately better health outcomes.
It really is fascinating that how all these different pieces, the advanced drugs, the early detection, the delivery tech, the patient support, the digital tools, how they all seem to be converging.
Yeah.
It paints a complex picture, definitely, but also quite a hopeful one for the future of treating atopic dermatitis. It's clearly not just about finding one magic bullet drug anymore.
Absolutely. It's a holistic approach that's emerging. The atopic dermatitis treatment market is, without a doubt, changing dramatically. It's driven by these advances in medical research and technology and this growing focus on truly patient-centered care. The introduction of targeted medicines, especially those biologics and JAK inhibitors, is really transforming how we manage moderate to severe cases. It's giving patients effective options that can significantly improve their quality of life, that move towards customized medicine. It holds huge promise for improving adherence and outcomes. And those digital health solutions are becoming more and more critical for keeping patients engaged and educated over the long term.
But it's also vital we don't forget those challenges we discussed, right? They still loom large. Issues like the high cost of these new treatments, the regulatory hurdles that can slow things down, and that persistent need to really increase understanding, both for patients and maybe even some clinicians, about the importance of treatment adherence. Addressing these difficulties head-on is going to be absolutely critical if we want to truly improve access and make these treatments as effective as they can be for everyone.
Which, if we try and connect this to the bigger picture, maybe leaves us with an important question to ponder. As technology and personalized medicine keep advancing so rapidly, not just in atopic dermatitis, but across healthcare, how do we actually ensure that these incredibly innovative, potentially life-changing treatments are genuinely accessible and affordable for everyone who needs them, regardless of, say, their financial situation or maybe their ability to navigate what can be a really complex healthcare system? How do we bridge that gap?
That is indeed a crucial question for the future. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the atopic dermatitis treatment market today. We hope this gave you some valuable insights, and we encourage you to keep exploring these important topics.